Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. We know you guys are all about getting fluent in English, and that means finding the fastest, most efficient way to get there. You don't want to waste time sifting through a million different tips and tricks, so that's where we come in.
Exactly. We're cutting through the noise and going straight to what really matters, building an English learning routine that actually works, and more importantly, sticking with it. We've done a deep dive into all the research and best practices out there to bring you the absolute core of what makes a difference.
And a huge part of that, something we see come up again and again, is this idea of consistency. We've all been there, super excited to learn English, hitting the books hard, and then, well, life happens, right?
It definitely does. Motivation can fade, other things get in the way, and suddenly those English goals are on the back burner. Building a solid routine is all about combating that tendency, making it more automatic so that you keep moving forward even when things get busy.
I think we've all had those periods of super intense study followed by, a complete drop off. And it's so frustrating because you feel like you're taking one step forward and then two steps back.
That's exactly what we want to help you avoid. Our mission today is to give you the tools and insights you need to create a routine that's truly personalized to your needs and learning style. And not just any routine, but one that's actually sustainable, something you can stick with over time.
It's about making real progress in all areas, listening, speaking, reading, and writing without getting overwhelmed or bogged down. We want to give you the clarity and direction you need to move forward confidently.
And to get there, we've explored a whole range of facets related to creating and maintaining an effective English learning routine. We've looked at why it's so important, how to make it your own, how to keep it interesting, practical strategies for overcoming those inevitable challenges that come up.
We've also looked into the importance of tracking your progress so you can see how far you've come, how to adjust your routine as your skills get better, the really important connection between your overall well-being and your ability to learn, and of course, all the incredible tech tools out there that can supercharge your progress.
So much good stuff to cover.
Tons. Let's start with the absolute basics. Why is having a routine such a game changer for anyone learning English?
Well, everything we've seen points to consistency as the foundation, the bedrock of language learning. Think about it like this. Would you expect to get in shape by going to the gym once a month and just completely exhausting yourself? Probably not.
No, not at all. It's all about those regular workouts, even if they're shorter.
Exactly. And it's the same with language. You need that consistent exposure and practice to really make it stick. It's about building those neural pathways, making the connections stronger over time. And a routine is what helps you do that.
Makes total sense. So when people fall into those boom and bust cycles of learning, what's the real cost? Aside from the frustration, I mean.
The big one is stagnation. You might make some initial progress, but without that regular reinforcement, things can start to fade pretty quickly. It's like trying to learn to play an instrument if you only practice once a month. You're never going to get very far.
I totally get that. So it's not just about putting in hours, it's about spreading those hours out consistently and making sure we're engaging with the language in all sorts of different ways, right?
100%. A good routine has to be balanced. It should incorporate listening, speaking, reading, and writing, all the core skills to make sure you're developing comprehensively.
I actually saw some examples of how you could even break down the time spent on each skill, like 20 minutes of listening, 10 minutes of speaking practice, 15 minutes of reading, and then another 10 minutes of writing, something like that.
Yeah, that's a great illustration. The exact proportions might vary depending on your individual needs and goals, but the key is to make sure you're hitting all those different areas consistently.
The thing that really stuck with me was this idea of setting aside a specific time each day for your English practice. It's not just about planning, it's about building a real habit.
Right. When you have that dedicated time slot, first thing in the morning, during your lunch break, whenever it works for you, it becomes more automatic. Yeah. You don't have to debate with yourself about whether you're going to study today or not. It's just part of your routine.
It's like brushing your teeth. You just do it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, the research suggests that even short bursts of consistent practice, even if it's just 15 minutes a day, can be incredibly effective over time. It's those small, regular deposits that add up to huge gains in the long run.
So, okay, we get why consistency is so important, but everyone learns differently. We all have our own strengths and weaknesses. How do we go about tailoring a routine so that it's really effective for us as individuals?
That's where the personalization comes in. It all starts with honest self-assessment. Take a good look at your English skills. Where are you already strong and where do you tend to struggle? Maybe you're great at reading and writing, but you get nervous speaking. Or perhaps listening is your biggest challenge.
Makes sense. So, let's say someone realizes that speaking is their weakest area, that they freeze up whenever they have to speak. What specific things should they focus on in their routine?
Well, the advice here is to make speaking practice a priority, to really carve out dedicated time for it. Look for opportunities to have conversations with other English speakers, whether it's through language exchange partners, online groups, or even just practicing with yourself out loud. The more you speak, the more comfortable and fluent you'll become.
And I imagine that applies to pronunciation too. The more you speak, the better you'll get at forming the sounds and getting the intonation right.
Exactly. Speaking practice helps you refine your pronunciation, expand your vocabulary, and just generally feel more confident using the language.
Okay, so what about listening? I think a lot of people, myself included, struggle with understanding spoken English, especially when you throw in different accents and speeds.
Yeah, listening can be tough. The key here is to make it a regular part of your routine, to actively immerse yourself in English audio, podcasts, TV shows, movies, whatever you enjoy. And when you're listening, try to pay attention not just to the words, but also to the rhythm, the intonation, the way native speakers naturally use the language.
So don't be afraid to turn on the subtitles at first, but try to wean yourself off them as you get better.
Right. Start with a material that's relatively easy for you to understand, and then gradually work your way up to more challenging content. And remember, active listening is crucial. Don't just passively let the sounds wash over you. Try to engage with what you're hearing.
I've definitely noticed that I pick up more when I'm really paying attention, maybe even taking notes or repeating phrases to myself.
Exactly. Those active strategies really help to make the information stick.
Okay, what about reading and writing? I feel that those are areas that some people might naturally gravitate toward, but others might shy away from.
It's all about finding what works for you. The main thing is to make sure you're carving out some time each day to engage with English text. It could be books, articles, news, whatever you find interesting. And a really effective technique is to try summarizing what you've read, either in writing or by speaking it aloud. This helps you to internalize the information and practice both your writing and speaking skills at the same time.
It's like creating your own little mini lessons from the things you read.
Exactly. And if you want to focus specifically on writing, keeping a daily journal in English is a great way to build fluency and get comfortable expressing yourself in writing. Just jot down your thoughts, observations, whatever comes to mind. No pressure to be perfect, just right.
The other thing that seems super important, and maybe this ties back to the motivation piece, is being able to see that you're making progress. How can we build that feedback loop into our routine?
One of the most effective ways is to set clear, achievable goals. Instead of just having a vague idea of wanting to be fluent, break it down into smaller milestones. Maybe you aim to learn 10 new words each week, write a short essay once a month, or have a 5-minute conversation in English without getting stuck. Achieving these smaller goals gives you a sense of accomplishment and keeps you motivated.
It's like those video games where you level up, it keeps you moving forward.
Exactly. Each small victory gives you a little boost and helps you stay on track toward those bigger goals.
Okay, so we've covered the what and the why of establishing a routine, and we've talked about how to tailor it to your own needs. But how do we keep things interesting? How do we avoid getting bored or feeling like English practice is a chore?
That's a great question, and it's where the fun factor comes in.
Hmm.
You have to make sure you're incorporating activities that you genuinely enjoy, things that make you excited to learn. If your routine feels like a drag, you're not going to stick with it.
So give us some concrete examples. How can we inject some fun into our English learning?
One of the best ways is to leverage entertainment. Watch your favorite TV shows, movies, or YouTube channels in English. It's a fantastic way to expose yourself to natural language in a context that you find enjoyable. And you can even try mimicking the actor's intonation or repeating phrases that you like, which is great speaking practice.
I've definitely picked up on some slang and idiomatic expressions just from watching TV shows. It's like osmosis.
Totally. It's a great way to absorb the language naturally. And podcasts are another fantastic resource, especially if you're on the go. You can listen while you're commuting, working out, doing chores, whatever you're doing. Find podcasts that cover topics you're interested in, and you'll be learning without even realizing it.
And there are so many different language learning apps now, too, which can be a lot of fun. I know Duolingo's super popular, and there's Babbel, Memrise, and a bunch of others.
Right, and a lot of those apps use gamification to make learning more engaging. They have points, badges, leaderboards, all sorts of things to keep you motivated, and they can be really effective for building vocabulary and grammar skills.
And don't forget the social aspect of language learning. Talking to other people in English is so important for building confidence and fluency.
Absolutely. Look for opportunities to connect with other English speakers, whether it's through language exchange apps like Tandem or Hello Talk, online communities, or local meetups. The more you practice speaking in real-life situations, the more natural it will become.
So it seems like establishing a routine is just the first step. What happens when we inevitably hit those bumps in the road, those challenges that come up? How do we deal with those?
Well, the first thing to remember is that facing challenges is totally normal. Everyone who learns a language goes through it. You might hit a plateau where you feel like you're not making progress. You might lose motivation, or you might get frustrated by making mistakes. It happens to all of us.
I think the fear of making mistakes is a huge one. It can hold people back from speaking up, from practicing, from really engaging with the language.
Absolutely. But here's the thing. Making mistakes is not a bad thing. It's actually a crucial part of the learning process. It's how we identify the areas we need to work on and how we get better. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Embrace them as opportunities to learn.
It's like that saying you have to break a few eggs to make an omelet.
Exactly. And when you hit those plateaus where you feel like you're stuck, it's a sign that you might need to shake things up a bit. Try a new learning activity. Challenge yourself with more difficult material, or even take a short break to let everything sink in. Sometimes a little change of pace is all you need to get back on track.
And how do we keep ourselves motivated over the long haul, especially when progress might feel slow?
It goes back to those clear, achievable goals we talked about. Having those milestones to work towards keeps you focused and gives you a sense of accomplishment. And remember to celebrate those small victories along the way. Reward yourself for hitting those milestones, no matter how small they might seem.
I think it's also important to remind ourselves why we're learning English in the first place. What are those bigger goals that we're working toward?
Absolutely. Keep that bigger picture in mind and try to find ways to immerse yourself in English outside of your structured study time. Change the language settings on your phone. Listen to English music. Read English news articles. Follow English-speaking social media accounts. The more you surround yourself with the language, the more natural it will become.
And I think a big part of staying motivated is being kind to yourself. Language learning is a journey. It takes time, and it's okay to have ups and downs.
Couldn't agree more. Be patient with yourself, celebrate your progress, and don't get too discouraged by the setbacks. Just keep moving forward one step at a time.
It's easy to feel like we're not making progress if we don't have a way to actually track it. What are some practical ways we can measure our improvement?
Setting those measurable goals is a great first step. Decide how many new words you want to learn each week, how much time you'll dedicate to speaking practice, or any other metric that's meaningful to you. And then keep track of your progress. You can use a simple notebook, a spreadsheet, or one of the many language learning apps that have built-in tracking features.
It's like having a visual reminder of how far you've come.
Exactly. And another really effective method is to record yourself speaking English periodically. Maybe do a short monologue about your day, practice a conversation, or read aloud from a book. Then listen back to those recordings and identify areas where you can improve.
It's like having your own personal language coach.
That's a great way to put it. And as you listen back to those recordings over time, you'll be able to hear the progress you've made. It can be really motivating to hear how much clearer your pronunciation has become or how much smoother your sentences flow.
I love that idea. And I think it's also important to take some time each month to reflect on your progress. Look back at what you've learned, what challenges you faced, and how far you've come.
Absolutely. Regular review and reflection are essential for staying on track and making sure your learning is effective. And remember, celebrate those milestones, no matter how big or small. Finishing a book, having a longer conversation in English, understanding a podcast without subtitles. These are all things to be proud of.
As our English skills improve, it makes sense that our learning needs would change too. How should our routine adapt as we get better at the language?
Your routine should definitely evolve alongside your skills. When you're first starting out, you might focus more on the foundations, basic grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation. But as you progress, you can start to challenge yourself with more complex material and focus on refining your skills.
So maybe start reading more advanced books, listening to podcasts with faster speech, or watching movies without subtitles.
Exactly. And you might also want to shift your focus to activities that promote fluency, like having spontaneous conversations or giving presentations in English. It's about pushing yourself just outside your comfort zone.
It's like working out. You need to keep increasing the weight or intensity to keep seeing results.
Exactly. And as you reach higher levels of proficiency, you can start to specialize your learning. Maybe you want to focus on business English, academic English, or English for a specific profession. The possibilities are endless.
This whole process of learning a new language can be pretty demanding. It can take a toll on our energy and motivation. How do we prioritize our overall well-being so that we don't burn out and can keep learning effectively in the long run?
Well-being is absolutely crucial. You can't learn effectively if you're stressed, exhausted, or overwhelmed. Make sure you're incorporating breaks into your study sessions, getting enough sleep, eating healthy foods, and exercising regularly. All of these things contribute to your overall well-being and your ability to learn.
It's like a car you can't keep driving without filling up the tank or getting regular maintenance.
That's a great analogy. And remember, language learning should be enjoyable. If you're finding it stressful or overwhelming, take a step back and reevaluate your routine. Maybe you need to shorten your study sessions, try a different learning method, or take a break altogether.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Exactly. And remember, there's no one right way to learn English. Find what works for you, experiment, have fun, and be patient with yourself. You'll get there.
We live in an amazing time for language learning, with so much technology available to support our efforts. What are some of the most effective ways we can use these digital tools to enhance our routine?
Oh, the possibilities are endless. There are language learning apps that can help you with everything from vocabulary and grammar to pronunciation and conversation practice. Voice recognition software can give you feedback on your speaking, and online dictionaries and translation tools can help you decipher unfamiliar words and phrases.
And don't forget about all the amazing content available online. YouTube videos, podcasts, and news articles, movies, TV shows. It's like having an endless library of English at your fingertips.
Exactly. And then there are online communities and language exchange platforms where you can connect with other English speakers from all over the world. Technology can really make learning more engaging, personalized, and accessible.
It's like having a whole team of language tutors and learning partners in your pocket.
That's a great way to think about it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the key takeaways for our listeners? What are the most important things to remember when building and maintaining a successful English learning routine?
Consistency is key. Make English a regular part of your life, even if it's just for a few minutes each day. Variety is important too. Don't be afraid to experiment with different learning methods and activities to find what works best for you. And remember to adapt your routine as your skills improve. Keep challenging yourself and pushing your boundaries.
Absolutely. And don't forget to take care of yourself. Get enough sleep, exercise, eat well, and manage your stress. A healthy body and mind are essential for effective learning. Track your progress, celebrate your achievements, and be patient with yourself. It takes time and effort to become fluent in a new language, but it's an incredibly rewarding journey.
It truly is. And it's a journey that opens up a world of opportunities for personal growth, for connecting with different cultures, for expanding your horizons in countless ways.
So embrace the challenge, enjoy the process, and never stop learning.
Excellent advice. Thanks for joining us today on the Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
See you then.